Okay, everyone, welcome back. Musta ka na? So now we are almost done. We're almost done talaga. Spare praise the Lord. We're already doing great. And the last thing that we need to do is to solve for the exponential functions. Diba? It says here, ano yung sabi dito? Sorry ko naka-yellow pero read this. Solve for the value for each variable based on the given exponential functions. Then check your work. Mabilis lang yun, okay? So now let's go to number 41. 2 raised to the q power is equivalent to 512. You know when you solve for exponential equations, you know your obligation is to do this. Diba remember last time? For example, diba remember we have this equation? We have, ano yun? 3 squared. We know that 3 squared is always equivalent to 9. Now what if we say x squared equals 9? We just take the square root of both numbers, and therefore x can be either negative 3 or positive 3. Just like what I said here. So yan. Those are the possible values of x. Either negative 3 or positive 3. Now, this time, this is the situation. If you are having exponential equations. Like for example, 3 raised to the x equals 9. We know that x is 2, right? We know 3 raised to the second power is equivalent to 9. That's how you complete the statement using exponential equations. Now, what if, let's say, for example, we are having this equation. So, di ba remember sabi ko sa'yo, 3 raised to the x power equals 9. So, in order for you to do this, you're going to translate that into logarithmic equation in order for you to solve for x. So, to translate this exponential equation into logarithmic equation, you can do it like this. Remember, log is always this one. Log base what? What base you're going to use? That's the sub, di ba? And then your sagot is right here. Log base 3 of 9 equals x. And what's the value of x? 2. Diba? So that's how you solve for exponential equations. Very easy. Pero if you want to use the one-to-base property, this is what you're going to do. So let's say going back to 3x raised to 9, you know that you can shrink the bases. 3 raised to what power gives you 9? Find a base that is congruent to that number here. And we know that the congruent base is 3. And that's 3 squared. When the bases are equal, s equals 2. So tama. And that's how you solve. Very easy. Now let's start with item 1. So in item 1, we have 2 raised to the q power is equivalent to 512. How do you solve for the variable x? How do you solve for the variable q? That's very easy. We know we were to translate this into log. That's log base 2 of 512 equals q. So log base 2 of 512, although we can't use this in the paper, but you can use this via calculator. To use the calculator of logs, this is exactly how you're gonna do it. First, let's go to calculator. Ganito siya. So ito yung calculator mo. Hanapin mo yung button na log. Diba, remember this is your calculator, diba? Hanapin mo yung log x. Ito yun, no? Log base x. Log base x, and then x can represent any number you like. And then 2, then input here your answer. Log base 2 of 512. What is the answer? The answer is 9. So to double check, 2 raised to the 9th power, exponential 9, is 512. So tama, this checks. So log base 2 of 512, or equals 9. Or 2 raised to the q equals 512. 2q is raised to 2 raised to the 9th power. Since the bases are equal, cross it out, and therefore q equals 9. That's it, diba? Very easy. And we double checked already our work. Next, number 2, it says here we have, ito yung problema. Wait lang ha. 3 raised to the r power is equivalent to 1 over 29. So how do we solve for the value? Of x? To solve for the value of x, no problem. No problemo. That's very easy. So to solve for the value of x, this is exactly what you're gonna do. Di ba remember sabi ko dito, you just have to apply the log. Pero take note that 1 over 729 is a negative exponent. So this is what you're gonna do. First, do you remember what did I tell you? You need to find a base that is congruent, or you can simply write it in log. Diba remember, 3r raised to 1 over 729 is in log form. But I'll show you that later. First, I will show you how to do one-to-one base property. So diba remember, we have 3 raised to the r power is equivalent to 1 over 729. First, you need to ensure that the 729 can be written such that the base is congruent. Is there? Yes, there is. Diba? So therefore, 3 raised to the r power is equivalent to 1 over, remember when 1 over 3 raised to what power gives you 729? Because 729, that's 81, diba? Divide by 9. Because 81 times 9 is 329. So therefore, 3 raised to the 4th power is 81. 81, 9. So that's 3 times 3, diba? And that's 9. So that's 6. 3 raised to the 6th power. But because your exponent translating positive is in the base, is in the underground, your base should, or your exponent should be negative. Do you remember what did I tell you when it comes to domain and range? If you have an exponent that is negative, it's already if you have an exponent that's negative, it's translating to positive beneath the surface. Now you're gonna have to bring it up, which makes it positive, which makes it negative. So therefore, it's going to be 3r raised to 3 over negative 6. So yan, di ba? And now that the bases are all equal, you can now conclude that r is equivalent to negative 6. But wait, we're still not yet done. Let's see if it makes sense. Di ba remember sabi ko kanina, we're going to use logs. The properties of logs. So ganito kasi yun. Di ba remember you have to find the log function. Log base x and then log base 3. Diba? So you have the log base 3. Log base 3 of fraction 1 over 729. Double check. Then press equals that you see right here. Press the equal sign and you get negative 6. Correct. For this problem, in problem number 43, in item 3, we have 7 raised to the s power times 49 is equivalent to 170,649. First of all, you already know what to do here. Remember, your goal is to find a base that is equal. Do you know any base that is equal? That's right, and that's 7. So here's how you're going to write it. So therefore, 7s, di ba remember it goes like this. 7 raised to the s power, all multiplied by 49 is equivalent to 170,649. Now, do you find a base that's equal? Yes, you have. We have 7s times 7 squared. Because 49 is equivalent to 7 squared, right? But what about the 117,649? Do you know any base that is congruent? We know that 7 raised to what power is equivalent to that number. 7 raised to what power gives you 117,649? I know. Let's apply the logs and find out. Getting your calculator once again. We type log base x of 7, and then the answer is 107 log base 7. Then the answer is, ano yung sagot? 117,649. What is the answer that you get? And that's 6. So therefore, it's 7 raised to the 6th power. Now, applying our laws of exponents, did you know the 7 raised to the s power and the 7 raised to the 2nd power, they are a product. So any base, so remember what does the law of exponents tell you? If you have the same bases, if your bases are congruent and your exponents are different, what do? And since it's product law, we add the exponents, diba? That's why your goal is to make sure that the bases are equal, so that if in case you can apply the laws of exponents when the bases are equivalent with each other. So now we have s plus, so now we do the math. Doing the math is very easy. S plus 2 equals 6. Subtract 1 on both sides, s equals 4. And that's our answer. Now let's plug it back to the formula. So to double check, ganito kasi yung mangyayari. Get your calculator, let's see if we got the same answer. 7 raised to the 4th power times 49. Yes, it will still give you the same answer. 170,649. Checks. Next, number 44. This one implies logs. Diba remember I told you kanina what to do whenever you see a log? Whenever you see a log, it's always logarithms. The translation is exponential, diba? And take note, in this log that you see here, you don't see any value on the bottom. So what does that mean? We know that it's automatically base 10. Like, diba remember if you look at the log here, nakita mo yung log dito, automatic base 10 na yan. So, log base 10 of 100,000. So, for that one, it's very easy. All you just have to do is to count the zeros and you will get the answer. And therefore, log base 10 of 100,000, count the zeros and you get 11. Kapag pinindot mo sa calculator mo, log, diba you see this log, diba? And then you do this. Count how many zeros? 100, 100, 100. So yan, there should be 11 zeros. So therefore, if you were to translate it to exponential equation, we have to write it like this. Ito yun, di ba? 10 raised to what power is equivalent to 100,000. Di ba? And we know as we count the zeros, because if it's 10 raised to 10, that's 1. So therefore, if we were to write in scientific notation, that's 10 raised to the 11th power. Di ba? 10 squared is 100. 10 cubed is 1,000. 10 raised to the 4th power, this is 10 squared. 10 cubed. 4th power, 5th power, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So count the zeros as you go. And that's easy. Next, number 5. For number 5, this one's a bit tough. But don't worry, it's still easy for you to solve. It says here, we have 1 over 64. 1 over 64 is equivalent to 1 over 64 is times 1024 is equivalent to 4 raised to the 7 minus u power. How do you solve for the value of u? That one is very easy. You know why? Applying the product law and applying the laws of exponents that I told you. Remember, your goal is to find the base that is congruent. Notice that the bases are congruent. So when we write this down, it should be like this. We have 1 over 64. Can you see what I'm doing? And then 1024 is equivalent to 4 raised to 7 minus u. Right? Did you find any base that is congruent? I'm sorry if you can't see it because it's orange. Kasi yung naka-orange siya, di ba? It's written in orange ink. So therefore, it's hard for you to see. So I'll just make it black na lang. Kasi if it's orange, I think it's hard for you to see. So I'll make this na lang black. So 1 over 64 is times 1024 is equivalent to 4 minus 7 minus u. Did you see the ink? Yes, you did. Now, this is what we're gonna do. The base that's congruent is 4. So therefore, 1 over 64 is the same as 1 over 4 cubed. Diba? 4 cubed makes 64. And 1024, that's when logs are implied. So you type your log base 4 of 1024. Do it in your calculator. Remember, 4 times 4 is 16. 16 times 4, 64. 256. So I think that's 4 raised to the 5th power. So therefore, that's 4 raised to the 5th power. Tama? And then that's equivalent to 4 raised to the 7 minus u. Take note that if we were to apply this, remember that 4 raised to the cube and 4 raised to the 5th, we were to distribute that, it becomes something like this. Right? It's equivalent to 4, 7 minus u. Tama? Pero take note, applying the laws of exponents, same base, pero quotient law. Diba, remember, 5 divided by 5, 4 raised to the 5th power, divided by 4 raised to the 3rd power, that's the same as, if we were to write this in expanded form, it should go like this, diba? Times 4, times 4, times 4. And then 4 times 4 times 4. Cross out the 3 fourths. So you're just left with 4 squared. So what you're just left now is 4 squared is equivalent to 4 raised to the 7 minus u. Diba? Now that the bases are equivalent, cross it out. So 7 minus u equals 2. Subtract 7 to both sides. So we have negative u is equivalent to negative 5. Divide both sides by negative 1. We get u is equivalent to positive 5. Did we get the answer right? We have to double check. Kaya that's why nga we have to type it into our calculator and see. So, di ba remember sabi ko dito, we have, ano yun? We have 64. We have this, 1 over 64 times 1024. Oh, sorry. Syntax error. The answer we get is 16. Remember that answer, ha? The answer that we should get is 16. Over here, okay? 16. Okay? Now, or what you can rather do is you can simplify the exponents to make it simpler. Because, diba, remember, we have 16, diba? Because of 4 squared that I showed you a while ago. And then 4 raised to the 7 minus u, that is 4 exponent. Click on this one. And then 7 minus 5. Diba, the answer that we got a while ago is positive 5. Right? U is equivalent to 5. Positive 5. And did we get the answer right? Yes, we did. The answer is still 16. So, checks. Next, let's go to number 6. The problem here is this. We have v 216 raised to the v minus 2 power is equivalent to 36 raised to the 3v minus 4 power. This one is still easy for you to solve. Again, applying what you've learned, you just need to set it to a 1-to-1 base property. Find a base that is congruent among the two bases that you see here. 216 and 36. Is there a base that's congruent? Yes, and that's 6. Because 6 cubed is 216. Ganito siya, di ba? Let me write it for you. 6 cubed, 216. 6 squared is 36. So the congruent base is 6. So now you write this down. 216 raised to the v minus 2 power is equivalent to 36, 3v minus 4. Okay? Now all we have to do is to simplify. Now, do you remember what did I tell you? Applying the product law, this becomes 6 raised to the 3 power, 6 cubed, and 36 is 6 squared. Diba? 3v minus 4. Now, once the bases are congruent, the bases magically disappear. Now, all we have to do is to work on the math. 3v minus 2 is equivalent to 3v minus 4. Now, we work the arithmetic. Do the distribution as follows. It implies the application of basic algebra. Right? And then we have 2 times 3v, which is 6v, minus 8. Diba? Now we simplify like terms. The b's can be brought to the one side. So therefore, we have 6v minus 3v. And therefore, that becomes positive 8. 8 minus 6 is equivalent to 6v minus 3v. Combining like terms, we should get 2 over 3v. Dividing both sides by 3. Therefore, v must be equivalent to 2/3. Am I right? Let's check. Let's check the equation to see if it's true. Turning on your iPad, let's go back to the calculator. We have this. So remember, we have 216 raised to the, what's the answer that we got? 2/3 minus 2. Diba? What's the answer that we get? The answer that we're supposed to get is 0.000771 something. That is the answer. Let's see if we get it on the other side. On the other hand, we have 36. 36 raised to the 3v, which is 3 times 2/3. Diba? Take note, they cancel. And then minus 4. So that's equivalent to 36 raised to the negative 2 power, which is still the same. If you were to translate this, that will be 1 over 1,296, which is still the same as 0.00771. So tama, it still checks. Check. For this next problem, we have ano yun? 1 over 625, which is raised to 5w minus 7th power, and it's equivalent to 3,125 raised to the w plus 4. That one is very easy for you to solve. How do you solve? Mabilis lang yun. Just apply the math as follows. Ganito kasi yun. Find a base that is congruent. 625 and 3,125, we know that's 5 raised to what power? And we know that 625 is 5 raised to the 4th power. So therefore, if I were to rewrite this, it's going to be like this. 1 over 5 raised to the 4th power is raised to the 5w minus 7 is equivalent to 5 raised to the 5th power over times w plus 4. Now the bases are congruent. But take note, it's on the negative side on the first one. So what do? We have to bring it to the surface. To bring it to the surface, we know the exponent here is positive. So we need to convert that to negative. So that would be 5 raised to the negative 4 power. Negative 4 times 5w minus 7 is equivalent to 5 raised to the 5w plus 4. Now we do the math. Divide bases. So now we just apply the math as follows. Diba? So yan, it will go like this. We distribute negative 4 and 5, we get 20w, and that becomes positive 28. On the other hand, 5 plus w is equivalent to 5w plus 4. Diba? Now we need to subtract 5w on both sides. So 20w minus 5w. And then on the other side, we bring negative 28, positive 28 to the other side plus 4. So therefore, that becomes negative 25w is equivalent to negative 24. Diba? Dividing both sides by negative 25, therefore w must be 24 over 25 in positive form. Alright? So yan. Let's double check if the... yeah, that 5 times w is 5w. 5 times 4 is 520. So therefore, dapat it should be negative 28 plus 20, which gives you 8 over 25. Negative 8 over 25. So therefore, w should be negative 8 over 25. Therefore, the value of w should be negative 8 over 25. And that's the answer that you see here. Negative 8 over 25. Now, let's put this back to the equation to see if it's true. So, going back now to our calculator, we have here, remember we type here 1 over 625. 1 over 625, which is all raised to the 5 times, oh my god, which is raised to the 5 times, ano yun? What's the answer that we got? Negative 8 over 25 is equivalent to, remember 5 over 25, they simplify. So therefore, that becomes 8. 8 divided by negative 5. Then minus 7. Tama? And then it's equivalent. So what's the answer that we get here? We have 1.10 something. So let's just write it down. 1.10807 something. That is the answer that we're supposed to get. Diba? Now let's go to 3,125 and then raise to the 8 over ano yun? Negative 8 over 25 plus 4. Did we still get the same answer? Yup, but I think it's raised to the 10 over 12. It may look like an insane answer. Pero never mind about that. Okay? So I think siguro that's more like an exponential number already. It's way too far. So yan. Ayaw pala, the answer is supposed to be positive. You know why? Let me show you again. Diba remember we have 1 over 625. 1 over 625 is raised to the 5 times 8 over 25. Diba remember the 5's cancel? Minus 7. And we should get 1.25 something. That's supposed to be the right answer. 1.25246. Okay? And then on the other hand, we have 3,125 raised to the 8 divided by 25 plus 4. Did we get it right? Tama, we still get the same. It's the right answer. So tama, that's the right answer that we're looking for. 1.2524. That is the answer. Now let's go to number 8. For number 8, this can be a tough problem. So let me write it down for you para hindi kayo mahirapan. Okay? So to solve number 8, the problem goes like this. It says here we have square root of 64 that is raised to that, and then that is raised to the 5x plus 16 power is divided by 262,144 is equivalent to x root of 134,270,728. That sure is a big number, but we can solve this, alright? So the first thing that we need to do is to apply the laws of exponents. We know that 262,144 is a large number. And take the square root of 64 is 8. So therefore, that's going to be 8 squared, diba? So that's 8. And 8 is now raised to the 5x plus 16 power. Tama? That's in the numerator. But I think that's our common base. 8, diba? So now let's take the log base 8 of 262. Let's see if we got it right. So go to log base x. Then we go to 8, diba? Log base 8 of the number. What's the number here? 262,144. And what's the answer? 6. So yan, diba? And this one implies math. So therefore, that's 8 raised to the 6th power. 8 raised to the 6th power. So that implies the quotient law. So therefore, you have to subtract. Is equivalent to this one. What about that 134,217,728? Can that be simplified to log? Let's see. Log base x, remember log base 8. And then type the number, which is 134,217,728. What's the answer? 9. So therefore, it's 8 raised to the 9th power. Pero we are not so sure what is the root. Because remember, the root does not even tell you what the answer is. Right? Hindi ba tayo sure kung alin yung root? And that is exactly what we're gonna do here. And you know, remember, to our laws of exponents, any exponent that is raised to a rooted power, that means that's the denominator. Like for example, do you remember we have 64? That's the same as, do you remember taken by a square root? That's the same as 8 raised to the 1/2 power. Diba? 64 raised to the 1/2 power, which is 8. And did you know that 8 squared, remember just what I told you kanina? Diba remember 64, taking the square root of 64 is equivalent to 8. Now, diba remember any number raised to the next negative to a fractional exponent is always the same as taking a square root. Diba? So therefore, diba remember we have 8 squared, then raised to the 1/2 power. Remember applying power law, 8 squared is 64. Now 64 raised to the 1/2 power, we just take the square root, and that's simply 8. Diba? Or you can apply the power law, and which is just 8 over 1, which is just 8. So yeah, now that's our answer. So now when we write this, remember now that the bases are already identical and congruent, we can now write this in expanded form. So now we have 8 raised to the 5x plus 6 power divided by, remember since it's division, it implies the quotient law. And it's equivalent to 8 raised to the 9 minus x, and 9 divided by x power. We are still unsure what the value of x is. And now we can just simplify the exponents. So we have 5x plus 16 minus 6 is equivalent to 9x. Right? 16 minus 6 is equivalent to 10. So 5x plus 10 is equivalent to 9x. Now all we need to do is to find the LCD. This implies the application of rational functions. So we multiply everything by the LCD, which is just x. Just imagine putting 1 here. So we know the LCD is just 1x or just x. So now the x's here, they cancel, diba? You have x here. So let me write this here for you. So yan, we have 5x So we have 5x over 1 plus 10 over 1 is equivalent to 9 over x. We know that the LCD is x, di ba? Ang LCD namin ay x. So we multiply both sides and everything by x. Diba? So it goes like this. The x's here cancel. So what we're just left with is this. So 5x times 5x is equivalent to 5x squared. Diba? So 5x squared na to. Plus 10x. Diba? Equals 9. Now we already have a quadratic equation. So now this will be translated as 5x squared minus 10x plus 10x minus 9 equals 0. Diba? Now we can solve through factoring. But since this is a quadratic equation, we need to multiply both of the numbers and then solve for the b. Remember, this is the a and this is the c. So we have to do it like this. What two numbers that you can multiply together to give you negative 45? Because 5 times negative 9 gives you negative 45. Diba? And that add to give you 10. How about let's try 15 and 5. Yeah, 15. No, that's not it. That's not the right answer. How about 9 and 5? Nah, it doesn't work either. Hindi pwede ang 9 times 5. So we list down all the possible factors of 45. The possible factors of 45 are 1 times 45, 3 times 15, 5 times 9. That's it. I can't even think anymore. So therefore, there's no way that we can multiply all of this so that we can get 10. So therefore, the answer here is kind of extraneous. And even though we multiply this by x, we can't even do that. So I think we got no choice but rather just complete the square. And I think I have no strength in that. So therefore, I'm so sorry that if I can solve for the value of x. But that's alright. Let's just skip that, okay? If you're a math genius, you can solve this for me, okay? But let's just stop up to there. Next, let's go to item number 49. For item number 49, it says here, we have log base 10 of 1. Oh yeah, do I remember another property of log is this. If you have a log base whose base is any number, and your answer is just 1, we know that the answer is just 0. So therefore, number 49 is just a bonus. Because log base 10 of 1, do I remember if you were to translate it into exponential notation, log base 10 of 1, it's the same as 10 raised to what power gives you 1. And what's x? 0. And remember the laws of exponents that I told you? Any number that is raised to the 0th power is just 1. So therefore, that's just 1. And x is 0. So therefore, if log base 1 is 0, then multiplied by 43,046,721 is equivalent to log base 7 of 1. That's already automatically 0. Because log base 7 raised to the 1 power is just 0. So therefore, we don't need to solve anything about that because it's just 0. So no more, no less. That's just a bonus. To input this in the calculator, let's see if it's true. Diba remember sabi ko sa'yo, log, you put there log, base 1, base any number of 1, it's always 0. Or pwede naman, let's say if it's log base 3 of 1, it's 0. Or log base 9 of 1 is just 0. So automatically 0. Now let's go to the last problem. Last problem is a bit complicated. But don't worry, we can still solve for the answer. It says here we have log base 1 million divided by 59,049 is equivalent to the square root of 6,561 divided by log base 6 of 10,077,696. So yan, that's still easy for you to solve. So how do we solve for the last problem? Mabilis lang yun. So let's write this down in our equation. So remember, we know that log base 10. Remember, there's no base in log, right? For this log. If that is so, we already know that it's log base 10. So log base 10 of 1 million. Count the zeros. And we know that's 9. Let me show you later. And then that becomes 59,049 raised to the z power. Is equivalent to the square root of 6,561 over log base 6 of 10,077,696. Okay? Now we simplify this. We know that this is 9. And then this becomes 59,049 raised to the z power. It's equivalent to, we take the square root of 6,561. You find a base that's congruent. Let's see. First, let's do this in the calculator para mas madali. So 6,561 is equivalent to 81. So that's 81 times 81. Tama? Or 9 raised to the 4th, or 9 squared times 9 squared, or 9 raised to the 4th power. So ganito siya, di ba remember, that's 9 raised to the 4th power. 9 raised to the 4th power is this one. Taken by a square root, that's the same as 9 raised to the 4th power, which is raised by the 1/2 power. 4 divided by 2, that's 81. And that's the answer. So that's 9 squared. Diba? So 9 squared to. Diba? That's 81. And then we have this one, log base 6 of, diba remember, we have here, log, where's the log? And then bx, type 6 there. Click on the arrow to move on to the next location. 10,077,696 is 9. So it's just 9 raised to the 4th power. So yan. Now we can solve. This one, we can apply cross multiplication to solve for the answer. Pero I think it's better if we just divide. Because 9 squared is just 9. Diba? So moving here, we have 9 divided by 59,049 raised to the z power is equivalent to 9 over 1. Now we multiply. Cross multiply. So this is just 9. And then 9 times 59,409 raised to the z power. Remember, that can be shrunk down. So we just need to take the log base 9 of 59,049. Let's see what answer can you get. Typing it here in the calculator, log base x, we type there 9. Did you see the 9 here? Yan, log base 9 of 59,049. What answer did we get? 5. So therefore, if I were to rewrite this, it's going to be 9 raised to the 5th power over z. Diba? It's equivalent to 9 squared over 9 over 1. If I were to cross multiply, this will be something like this. So we have 9 raised to the 1st power, 9 raised to 5 times z. Because negative 5 times z is equivalent to negative 5z. Diba? And it's equivalent to 9 raised to the 1st power. Now that the bases are congruent, we eliminate that. So 1 minus 5z is equivalent to 1. Or just simply say 5z plus 1 equals 1. Subtract 1 on both sides, we have negative 5z. Subtract 1 on both sides, we have negative 5z is equivalent to 0. Ha! Bonus lang to. Kaya that's why nga, z is equivalent to 0 lang. Kaya that's why nga, that's the answer. Ang z namin ay 0. Para what you all this, totoo yan. Pero not yet sure because we still need to double check. So, di ba remember, we have log base 1,000. And di ba remember, this 5,049, 049, raised to the 0th power. Di ba remember, sabi ko, any number raised to a 0th power is just 1. And that's 9. That's 9 here. Check out. Then we have 6,500. Taking the square root, we get 2. And this becomes 9. Diba? 2 divided by 2. So, diba remember, we have the square root. So, let's see if we got the same answer here. So, we have the square root of 6,561. Diba? Wait lang ha. Square root of this number. Tama? And then all divide by, where's the log? No, not this one. We have to put it in the denominator. Log base 9 of, what's the answer here? 10,077,696. No, 10,77,696. What answer did we get? If we were to divide, we should get this answer, diba? So yun lang. But I think the answer may not seem correct. Kasi nga, it's 0 over negative 5. At saka dapat, that's not supposed to be our answer. Kasi kung nag-double check tayo, that seems like an extraneous answer. Kaya that's why in number 50, the answer may not be defined. but it will just be considered an extraneous solution. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.